Hello? All right. I'm gonna be coughing the whole time, so sorry. This is definitely what we're working on. This right here. This is it right here, guys. This is what we have to announce. Everybody should be here in a minute. They were loitering down below. Hmm.
No, wait.
You're here.
Well, hello there.
There's 92 people. 93
And they can
people.
hear every word that we're saying. Mm.
Are you
The
leaking?
anticipation
Are
is
you leaking the
palpable.
release already, Liam?
He's
What?
leaked it.
This
You're
is it
sharing
right
your
here, yeah.
screen. Do you know that you're sharing your screen?
Oh,
He's leaked it. He's leaked Archetype, boys.
Fuck.
That's it. Game over. Back to formula.
Dude, I'm telling you about OPSEC like every other day for the last 2 weeks.
All right, Liam.
all right.
You should have timed me
We're
out.
gonna hang out for like 5 minutes, and then we're gonna actually show what we're.
Oh yeah.
announcing.
You know what you can do? You can put your Chrome on another tab and then full screen the first slide and put that up. There you go.
Like this one?
No,
Not the
you,
first slide?
yeah.
This
Yeah, go ahead.
didn't work.
Click slideshow at the top.
I was
Oh,
actually
we're
leaking
leaking
now.
it.
there we go. Just
4
put
minutes
them back
early.
in your pants. Just everyone, just rezip. Wait. Just relax.
Okay.
Didn't need to show you anything.
What?
It's fine. It's cool.
All right.
We can put the lobby music back on. So can the audience members hear when we toggle it on, or is this a person by person thing?
I think if you turn, no, it's like per person.
Okay. I highly recommend unmuting the music if you haven't.
I don't know what a womp is.
Womp womp.
Like a womp womp womp.
There's no soundboard in here, which is honestly a travesty.
Oh no, shit. God damn it.
Yeah, I might have to find some kind of other solution to that problem.
I don't know why I'm on the stage then. If I
Why
can't
are we
use
even doing this? We can't even meme at each other.
Do you hear
Maybe I
everything
can
twice?
just I can ad lib all of them, right?
I was gonna say you shouldn't be hearing everything twice because only one person's mic is activated at once. So
Does that look alright on Twitch?
Oh my god, the chat's going wild. I think it looks okay on Twitch. I'm gonna unmute myself briefly. I'm going to chat.
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. Is everyone ready?
I know, so they can hear us.
Wait, where's
no,
the Twitch?
no, Sam, you did not miss it. We haven't started yet. It's gonna be exactly like Tap, actually, because never mind. I'll save the joke.
You
This is
spoiled
why
it
you
already. You said what it was.
I'm going to put a link in the chat to my Twitch channel because I couldn't stream on YouTube because
minutes.
you have to have asked to stream 24 hours in advance of actually streaming. So naturally, me doing everything the last minute, I didn't have enough time to do that. But if you do want to watch it on somewhere else, we'll upload the VOD to YouTube after as well, so you can go back and watch it there. Hopefully, assuming that everything records properly. It's an old picture.
90 seconds.
90 seconds.
I'm gonna be coughing the whole time. You guys just gonna have to deal with it.
Yep.
I'll mute my mic maybe.
Cough
Or
into your mic.
I won't mute my mic. I don't know.
The big donkey D.
Oh,
How many people? There's 107 people in the audience.
109, 110.
Wow,
60
you
seconds.
must have nothing better to do. Are we counted up? We ready? You excited?
No.
I mean, we already showed them the splash, so
Yeah. Overhype of the century. I'm here to teach you a lesson about expectations, ladies and gentlemen. How much longer, Corvid? 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. And on a moment earlier.
I will count you in because we are serious production here.
Absolutely. And then we can trim. We can trim the video. So me doing stupid things like, no one's going to know.
15.
Do the clap.
5,
130.
4, 3,
there's
2,
Brandon. I mean,
1.
PFH.
Good evening, morning, night, ladies and gentlemen, extruders of all shapes and sizes, to our silly jamboree of demonstrating some crap that we've been working on for a while. So, what are we here for, Durf?
Archetype. Cool heads. And,
Tool heads.
at least a couple extruders.
Yeah, there's some stuff happening in here. So, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a giveaway going on. We'll just kind of mention this at the beginning, get it all out the way. So Durf will kind of go through what's in it in a second, but there are 2 giveaways. There's one for the subscribers. So if you didn't know, on the Discord channel, like a Patreon or something like that, you can subscribe to us and give us a little bit of money if you want to support what we do. And that is, there is a giveaway for people who are in that subscribers group, and then there is a giveaway for anyone here, and I think we'll be given a Google form out for you to fill out to enter in, but anyone who fills that out can come in.
Okay.
Is that correct?
So I'm gonna post the link right now to the everybody, the everybody giveaway.
Yep.
If I want to make sure I'm sending the correct link first. So for the everybody giveaway, we are doing a double T Funzer 6mm Trident aluminum gantry kit. Whoever wins, you get to pick the color. For the supporters, which are going to be, all the supporters are going to be automatically entered. We're going to give away 4 2504 S35s and a Tiny Shell Script 2.4 NEMA 17 all-wheel drive kit, and a set of trailhead plates.
Yep.
So I posted the link for the normie giveaway right there. So click it and enter it. Anybody can enter.
Come on, Luke.
And
The
what
prize is the plates and the color.
What happens if somebody joins subscriber during the live before the giveaway?
That's okay.
You
We'll
are
count.
entered. So yeah, we're gonna do with the subscriber poll at the end. Well, we're gonna do everything at the end. So if you enter now, you don't need to hang around. Just make sure you enter the giveaway for the normies, and then if you're a subscriber between last month and the end of the stream, you're going to be in the giveaway, and we're going to do that at the end of the stream.
We might have like a little
to go over what we do with the subscriber money. Just so we can explain why we ask people for money. But basically, like our first month, we gave all of the money to Deadwood, Lead, and DW Taz, who are the only people basically in our Discord who are doing anything that month worthwhile, in my opinion. And next month, we'll probably distribute it a little bit more differently. We need to take some of it for future projects. And then we're going to distribute some for the same thing we did the previous month, just for people to recognize them as part of the community.
Take some of the sting out of the development cost of doing some of the wilder stuff. When you have to buy hundreds of, well, not hundreds, but tens of different fans and different power supplies and all that kind of stuff. It gets pretty spicy. And we don't want people to not make cool stuff because they can't do that. That's pretty lame.
Faz, we did last month. We did disclose who we were going to be giving the money to and why. However, that probably won't be the norm for an extent, like to an extent rather. Some of it's going to be for private projects. And then also we don't want to really set the obligation to say what it's for, because ultimately you could be buying pizza with it and that's totally okay.
Yeah, we got feedback from the supporters saying you don't need to be super detailed. I just want to know that it's going towards something that'll help you guys do good work.
Yeah.
We will be disclosing how much total we receive. Yes.
Yeah. So you guys will know. And I'm sure like it's at the discretion of the people who receive the money to tell you what they do with it if they want to. So I'm sure you'll start to see.
I didn't do that.
Right. Shall we get into the meat and potatoes?
Yeah.
Are you all ready? You can click and
Yeah.
show them what we've done. Look. That is absolutely beautiful. Wouldn't you all agree? I've spent 3 months in a CAD cave just kind of really working on these lines, really thinking about the symmetry and compatibility and LED integration critically. So yeah, this is what we've achieved. So clickety click, Mr. Durfel, please.
We already
We've
went
talked
over
about
this.
the So
All
what is Archetype? What have I been swirling away? So those of you who are familiar with Breakneck already have already kind of seen a good amount of what we've done. This will feel quite familiar to you. A lot of the same concepts have gone forward. But during the development of Breakneck, as we sort of started to open up the beta a little bit and get some feedback from people, we kept getting the same sort of responses, right? Hey, this is really cool, but I'm not putting a CPAP in my machine. You know, that's just too much of a stretch. It's too expensive. It's too much modding, whatever. So in the process of trying to figure out, well, you know, what fans do we put onto this carriage, it became pretty apparent that there are a lot of different use cases and one fan was not going to cut it. This was not going to be something where we could just stick 4010s on the side and say, done. So we decided to rework some of the carriage. We redid a good amount of the internals and started making some changes in order to allow the sort of structure of the core to accept, you know, a little bit more. And we came up with 6 different cooling configurations for what we are now calling Archetype, which was previously Breakneck to some degree, but you'll see there's some other changes in there. So it's kind of a V2 of Breakneck. There's a lot of rebasing involved. So on these icons, these are just some iconography that I've worked on, you know, nothing too set in stone, but from left to right, I'm just going to say the names and then we'll go through the slides and kind of explain each one a little bit. In fact, no, let's just go through the slides. These icons are just representing the 6 different archetypes that we have.
All right.
Clickety. Yes, please, sir. So this is one you're all kind of familiar with. You've seen this before. This is Archetype Breakneck. So this is the archetype, and you put CPAP cooling on it. So this gives you remote cooling. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of cooling capacity. You don't lose any clearances anymore. So one of the major changes that was done to the core was bringing this back down to Clockwork 2 clearance levels. So if you're running Breakneck, you can run it in any printer with any front idlers, any configuration of XY joints, and still retain all of your clearances and not worry about losing any bed space. And this is all for front rail V2 Trident predominantly, right? We haven't really worked on doing a top rail MGN9 variant or anything like that just yet. So this is all very much focused on the larger printer. But yeah, Breakneck is something you're kind of all familiar with a little bit. So let's get into the new stuff.
All right.
Archetype Atrocity. So, this got its name because it's absolutely stupid. A lot of us have been working on water heater with Cbon and looking into that. And one of the things that they're doing on the K3 toolhead is using these axial blowers, the 4020s, the 3515s. These little suckers have insane amounts of airflow. They are putting out around just unducted about 9 CFM each, which if that means nothing to you, that's a lot of flow for a single fan. That is an alarming amount of flow. So we figured out a way to undersling these kind of fans underneath the XY joints if you flip them. So it says you require CNC XY joints or flipped XY joints. So I'm just going to move my camera down here a little bit so you can see on my table. You have normal XY joints, normal plastic printed XY joints. When you have the rail carriage here, there we go. when you have a rear carriage here, you've got all of this extra meat underneath your XY joints, but on the top it's much thinner. So if you just flip your XY joints so that this part is on the bottom, you can put larger, more clearance stuff underneath and gain some extra room up top. So we kind of lent into that option with some of these fan configurations, and it allowed us to put these really big fans underneath. The 3515s are really delicate with how they have to be ducted. We've done a lot of CFD on all of these that we've done so far. And we've really tried to optimize like the cooling potential of the fans that we put in the tool head. 3515s are very, very finicky. So the only way that we can make these things work is by putting them as parallel to the bed as possible and putting as little ducting underneath as possible. Which means the only way to fit that is with the longest hot ends that we support on the tool head. So when we get to the core, we'll sort of...
I was going to ask if you went over the L only thing, because I wasn't sure.
So this is large only, So when we get to the core, I'll describe a little bit more about the sizes. They're the same category sizes as breakneck, so if you're familiar with that, you'll sort of understand that. But the large size category at the moment is water heater and Goliath. You can also technically put another nozzle extender onto a Dragon UHF or a Rapido UHF and get to that size category if you're very much, I do have an atrocity show off. I'll grab it in a mo, but it's currently attached to a tool head that I can't show on camera right now. So, cool. So that's atrocity. Atrocity. I've been print testing that myself and testing with it. It's pretty wicked, and you might notice a little Easter egg on top of there as well.
Next, you ready?
Yes, sir. Yep. Next, Mjolnir. This is my personal favorite, I think. Mjolnir is really, really clever, and I say that because it wasn't really my idea. If any of you are familiar with Bythor's Thunder over on the Voron Discord, the guy's an absolute menace. He's wonderful. His brain is just... I have been locked in a design deadlock for weeks on how to figure out how to do Mantis-style 5015s on the toolhead, because Mantis blower fans were great, and if any of you have used Mantis before, the cooling performance out of it was wicked. It was really the input shaper stuff that held it back. So there was I think... Corvid, you might kind of have something to say on this. Putting 4010s on Zol was not necessarily a compromise, but it's a less powerful fan than a 5015. But you sort of lent into better ducting to then make up the difference and stuff, right?
And yeah, that was a major concern with Mantis 5015 when I was evaluating it for use on my machine, and when I was thinking about Zol. The long ducts, and they were a little bit squeezed down towards the end, made it to where the air didn't flow quite as well, and the fans, being as large as they are, would stick up and wobble a bit. It's nice. It has been nice seeing the testing results with the Mjolnir in the wild that we've had with some of the testers, that the wobbliness of the fan isn't so much an issue anymore, and the ducts are extremely short and very direct. With the innate velocity of the 5015s, you get good volume and velocity across the part, which should show pretty good cooling. I think Thor has been testing basically the same setup.
Yeah, I think he has a slightly different entry angle on the fans, but other than that, it's pretty much the same.
And that thing, it cools very, very well.
It really does, yeah. I think this on a Voron machine will be quite impressive cooling compared to what most people are used to, especially if you're coming from Stealth Burner. It's a bump in cooling capacity from Zol as well. It's quite a substantial one. So once you sort of hit the size category issue that Zol might run into with the longest tool heads, you're going to kind of want more cooling there too. So Mjolnir uses the same underslinging sort of idea that Atrocity does. So it clears rammers, it clears simple idlers. It may clear stock XY joint, stock front idlers, I'm not sure. But you will need to flip your gantry. So you'll need to put your Y rails on the top of your extrusions with your XY joints upside down. Or if you have CNC XY joints, you can use your gantry stock. So you don't need to do any flipping if you have CNC or trailhead gantry stuff. So there's a bit of a benefit there. If you are using like aluminium gantry parts, you don't have to do any more faffing around. It's pretty easy to flip the gantry on both the 2.4 and the Trident, but it's one of those things. We had to really lean into some unusual methodologies with Archetype compared to Zol. We were kind of allowed ourselves to be a little bit more loose with the requirements on stock configurated parts and what sort of compromises we would allow. because Zol exists and it's really well tested and it's a very high performance toolhead already, we can afford to be a little bit silly with Archetype. We can afford for it to be a little bit out there because there's a nice convenient option that already exists. We don't need something that sits on tap again. Next.
Alrighty.
So everything you've seen so far is available and will be available today. So Breakneck is available, Atrocity is available, and Mjolnir is available. Zephyr is not available. There's like 3 people really waiting for it, man. Yeah, Zephyr is sheet cooling. So what you see is very basic CAD for it, basically. It's just sheet cooling deflectors that stop the hot end from being directly exposed to the air. And most of the magic here would be in external sheet cooling ducts that would be sort of underslung underneath your Y extrusions. So again, this sort of one of the other benefits of flipping your XY joints, you can put the rails on the top, you can hang stuff like sheet cooling underneath. We're likely going to work with the same pumps and the same blower fans that we've been working with the Breakneck stuff, with the remote cooling CPAP things, because we think they're probably a pretty good fit for sheet cooling. You can use existing fans with sheet cooling too, and I imagine there'll be plenty of user mods, and there are already a lot of mods for sheet cooling ducts out there. So this is really just like, we'll focus on getting deflectors on the toolhead. Then if you have an existing sheet cooling setup that you want to use it with, wonderful. And once the dust has settled with the toolhead development a little bit, we'll go in and we'll actually design our own sheet cooling ducts that have, you know, the sort of optimization that we are looking for in the CFD and that kind of jazz. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could mount the fan to the XY joints if you had a good enough like hose that let it flex properly. There's a lot of ideas, and one of the reasons that we're opening up into the beta before all of these things are completely finished is we want to kind of get some feedback. We don't want to go into a back room, develop everything, finish it, come out to something that nobody wants. You know, we want to let people chew on these ideas a little bit as we develop them. Yeah. So Zephyr's going to be cool, and it supports all 3 sizes as well. It's a really simple design, so really easy for that one to support everything.
All right.
Next one, please. Mantis. I don't have a render of Mantis just yet. I will show you the CAD in a little bit, and I'll show you everything, all of the render stuff wiped away, just bare CAD. So you'll see what Mantis is supposed to be. Mantis is named after Mantis, not because it's using 5015s, it's in fact using 5020s, but it mounts the fans in a similar way. They're sort of both on the side of the toolhead with the ducts blown down. 5020s have a little bit of an advantage in doing this because they can intake from both sides of the fan. So you can afford to put them on both sides of the toolhead without raising them above like the plane where the extruder and stuff would be, like you have to do on Mantis. So we've got a much more rigid setup than the original Mantis would had, but it's, you know, stylistically quite in the same idea. And the other benefit of mounting the fans there is it's very easy to do very short ducts and support the short hot ends as well. And it'll support medium and large as well. That's relatively straightforward. That's in development, but it's sort of very prototypical right now. That's not particularly well fleshed out. And then the last one.
I'm just laughing at chat over here.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. I should also introduce the wonderful, magnanimous Maz. He's right here. That's actually Maz, right? He's just blurry. But he is there. That's Mez head, yeah. I have a dog too. I might get him to wander in soon. Right, so the last one. So Archetype Zol ? Maybe name. This was very nearly finished for today, but I just didn't get time. I wanted to have a fan configuration that worked with the smallest toolhead stuff today, but it wasn't feasible, and I would rather have this event release stuff than push it back another week, just for the sake of releasing this.
Zol could be done very quickly, I think.
Zol is very nearly done anyway, and the best thing about Zol, it uses the same fans as Zol. It's 4010s. It uses the same ducts that Corvid has already done loads of work on and has already optimized to the high heavens and is continuing to work on. So we get all of that wonderful benefit. All of the cooling performance is just a given. I get to just take his work, glue it onto my stuff, take all the credit. Perfect. So Zol is very, very close to being done, and I'll show you what I roughly have. I will say, and I'm, don't tell Corvid, right? My intention is to try and make this iteration of Zol a little prettier, perhaps, something that's perhaps more in line with my aesthetic tastes. So, that will be what we go to there. But Zol, just to be clear, isn't replacing the existing Zol. The only thing it has in common is it's the same fans, right? It's using the 4010 fans in the same configuration on the sides and using Corvid's ducts.
It might get renamed just to avoid confusion, because we obviously have Zol 1, Zol 2, New Zol, which is actually just Zol Toolhead, and then we don't want to have a third Zol, which would be called Archetype Zol, and that's just going to get too confusing.
So I'm going to do what I was told not to do and suggest that the community should be the one to name it. I've come up with several good names. Nothing has really hit the nail on the head yet. I realize that opening this up to community ideas is very dangerous. We're going to end up with Zolimux Zolface, you're right. But listen, I trust you all to take this responsibility seriously.
Oh no.
And not name it anything silly, okay? We might have to have like a community project or like some kind of competition, like a print competition or something cool. Do another stream like this, and whoever wins that can name it. How about that? But yeah, for the time being, I like Archetype Blackbird because Corvid's Raven, right? And Blackbirds are fast.
Yeah. Do me a favor real quick.
Yeah.
Turn off and back on your webcam.
Is it doing green flickeries?
No. Oh, no, it might be back. Oh, maybe not.
Oh.
For me,
am I okay?
I'm not sure.
Oh, hang on, I'm blue ball. I'm ballsing. 1 second. I think I'm rotating on stream. Can you still hear me?
I wanted to name it Brandon was also rotating. Yes.
Am I good?
We're all rotating now.
I wanted to name it. So Led originally suggested Blackbird, and I felt like it just didn't fit in with the naming of everything else. And I think
there are too many B's. I'll be honest. But Blackbird, Breakneck, it's a bit mouthy.
All right.
But
all right. We move into the next slide.
1 sec.
Yeah.
To the 3 people that are like, do I need to reprint my Zol to get the new archetype? If you are very picky about your hardware choices, maybe not, because it's less likely that Archetype will support your Orbiter 1.5.
Yeah.
Yes. And we'll kind of get into this, right? Just sort of some comparisons between Zol and Archetype. If you want to boil it down into a basic sentence, Zol is finished. Not finished, but like Zol has support for stuff that is tested and done, right? So there's that. I don't support too much just yet, but you'll see. It's coming. It's coming. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So the core of Archetype has changed a little bit. I'm not going to go too much into detail now. We'll go into the CAD and we'll look at it later. It's very similar to what you've seen with Breakneck. We've changed the belt clips to be a lot more robust. We're doing a lot more work with them. We're talking about doing SLM belt clips as well that you might be able to buy, and that would give you really nice belt clips. And doing some other SLM stuff like we've done with SLM Zol. It supports Clicky PCB, Beacon. Euclid will be minutes to do. I just hadn't do it, but I do appreciate that. I think it was Meredy saw a configurator thing before. Oh, spoilers. And noticed that there was a Euclid spot there. It will come. There will be Euclid support, but Clicky PCB and Beacon kind of hits 90% of people. So for now, MGN 9, MGN 12, 9mm belts, 6mm belts. A bunch of hot end support. We've got Goliath and Water Heater that are the big boys. They sit in the largest category. Then you've got Dragon UHF. You've got Rapido UHF in the medium category. And I think in the small category, you've got Rapido, Dragon, just Hoof. Well, kind of high flow, ultra maybe high flow. Drop Effect and some other stuff like Volkmosk and things like that. There's still a little bit of work to be done on the Volkmosk block and the Drop Effect block, but again, they're not very long to get those finished. And I think one of the things, the major reason why we kind of pushed Archetype into being a thing is the screws. The way that this thing assembles and holds itself together and how the screws mount in rigidly, it turns out it works pretty well. So yeah,
I basically want to talk a little bit about that. I'm not sure if that's something you want to save for CAD or we can talk about it now. But basically, Led took some advice from Corvid in particular about, making a rigid tool head. And where we ended up was these 4 main screws, all at different angles. Well, the top screws are at the same angle but opposite, and the same thing with the bottom, but they're at different angles. So that puts the whole entire thing in compression at different angles. So
And no
this
matter
thing
what
is
direction,
insane.
yeah, no matter what direction the tool head's moving in, if you have all the screws coming out sort of like straight out, as you move left and right, they're kind of levered this way. But when you have them angled in this way, the screws on one side are being compressed, the others are put into tension. There's never a situation, there's never a motion that you can do with the tool head where you have more than one screw in an undesirable loading. So that's pretty neat. And it makes it very, very easy to service the tool head as well. If you want to take extruders off, you just take the top 2 screws out. You can pull the extruder block off and replace it very easily without the rest of the tool head coming apart. You can take one side fans off just by taking the 2 on the right off. Any form of like servicing on the tool head just requires those 4 screws. We did go to M2.5s, but yesterday I decided to go back to M3s everywhere. There may be an ever so slight clearance loss, but with the M2.5s, I was able to get to the very edge of my 355 print sheet. So I'm assuming most people would rather have more ubiquitous hardware that's easier to get hold of at the cost of maybe 1 mil on either side of their print sheet when they're already getting more than their full 350 anyway. So I think that's probably a good compromise. And I think there are other things on the toolhead just hitting before that anyway. So
I would also like to say that this is Archetype, right here. This right here is what Archetype is. Everything else is just what gets added on. So the project is more of a platform for development than it is a tool head, right? So the whole goal of this, and something we're going to show off later, is the configurator. We are going to have it so you can submit your designs, whether that be just different combinations of things, and then you can name your own archetype or whatever you want to do, really. But right now, we're basically just releasing it with our own archetypes, which are Breakneck, Atrocity, Mjolnir, blah, 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 blah. And then you can make your own things with silly combinations and silly fans, and then name it Toolhead, McToolhead Face. I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. We want to make this really easy to, the toolhead is super modular. So if you swap a hot end, you just you print the hot end mount. There's no other dependencies there. It doesn't matter what hot end mount you put in this. All of them work with everything. If you're going from Rapido to Rapido UHF, all you reprint is anything that changes with length, so ducts and probes. If you want to change extruder, okay. The only dependency with extruders is if you're using the breakneck CPAP stuff, you need to use the breakneck blocks. That was the point that I made them for in the first place, was to give clearance to the CPAP hose. So they are needed for the CPAP stuff. But that kind of leads us on to another thing. If we're adapting Archetype into being something that's more developable for fan options, you guys don't really need to have breakneck blocks, do you? So that brings us on to the next bit.
There was something else I want to talk about real quick. With
ahead.
regards to the sizes, only because we don't have a slide specifically for duct length or anything like that. So something that's also really great, the way that we set up the lengths of each individual hot end, I should say, goes with the duct length for that hot end. So we basically took what Zol has, where it has normal length and then UHF length, and we split that up into 3 total, separated by, is it 6 millimeters or 8 millimeters?
8.5.
8.5 millimeters. So what that means you can do is you could theoretically take a Rapido, right? And that would be medium length, and then put an extender on it, which is 8.5 millimeters, and that will drop you to the large length duct. And then you could do that for anything. So you could take a Dragon high flow, put 2 extenders on it, and now you're in large length from small.
I think Rapido. I think the way it's set up right now is that small is the base Rapido length.
Yep. Oh, okay. So either way, I didn't think Rapido was that short, but yeah, you're probably right. So you could do the same thing for Rapido then. You could take Rapido and put 2 extenders on it, and then it would be large length.
One of the things that we kind of did is we pushed the fan a little further away from the front. We have ass loads of wide clearance with this thing. So the fan is a little further away from the heatsink than usual. That gives us two benefits. I can actually duct the fan slightly. You don't really want to do too much ducting with these tiny little 2510s, but you can redirect the air further down, which means we can normalize the nozzle height on a hot end and have the fan kind of not really aligned with the heatsink too well and still hit the heatsink nicely. So that's kind of convenient. That lets us move the hot ends around in the sort of frame a bit without really causing any issues. But standardizing on the 8.5mm length, that's exactly the length of a spacer. That's super handy. It does let you do some really silly things. We might be able to support a 0 size length, which would be in the ballpark of like Revo and Dragon, but we're not sure that will fit because one of the problems that you'll have with Trident, for example, is the bed getting up far enough to the X-beam, and then obviously with the 2.4, the motor's hitting the floor. So we need to double check exactly on the clearances. But if you look on that render there as well, you can see that we're mounting the top of the hot end plane at the top of the carriage. So this tool head mounts your hot end way higher up on the carriage compared to a normal hot end, or to a normal tool head.
All right. I think we're ready to go to extruders.
Yes, sir. So, Kyro, some of you will have seen already. I wanted to make an extruder that worked with breakneck that still had a flat motor on the back and didn't have the whole breakneck block thing. I don't mind the way the breakneck blocks look, but they're divisive. Some people don't like them at all. Some people think they look really cool. I think they look kind of cool, but they're kind of ungainly in some ways, and they make toolhead board mounting kind of awkward. So, Kyro is a NF Cannon repack, and this is based on a load of work that Shaunus did over on the Annex Discord. He repacked Cannon, used thrust bearings, and did some kind of jazz. And he made a worm gear extruder, and I kind of repackaged it, moved things around, made it sort of angle where I want. And this still has the micro Bowden bend in the filament path and kind of wraps around. I'm not going to go too much into detail on Kyro in this stream, but I might talk about it in its own event at another time, perhaps. But the benefit of Kyro is it kind of mounts natively onto the whole tool head, and those top two screws act as the mounting screws for your extruder and keep things really, really rigidly in there. It's a really lovely way of mounting extruders. It's very, very secure, and you don't get any of the wobble that you normally get. But you know, Kyro's been around for a little while. People have seen that already. So once we had made some fan options, we realized that we should probably take this idea a little further.
Okay. You want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Is that what that was?
Yes, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the punnest of puns, Sharketype. I made this because Chaos Maker is just a wonderful person, and his extruder design is absolutely magnificent. For anyone who doesn't know, Chaos Maker made a modification of a sailfin extruder called Sharkfin, which is wonderful. It's similar in style to a Sherpa, and the sailfin was sort of inspired by the Sherpa BMG style extruders. Standard spur gear, 8 to 10 tooth onto a BMG or Ridger or whatever. Yeah, so we just took Sharkfin, we took the internals from Sharkfin and just repackaged it in a way that natively sits on top of Archetype. It won't work with breakneck at all, not a chance, but everything else it works fine with. It looks pretty weird. It looks pretty cool. I think Chaos's original Sharkfin looks a lot more shark-like than this. I think I've kind of bastardized it somewhat, but nonetheless, it's cool, and it's going to give you a native way to mount a Sherpa-style internals kit onto Archetype without having any kind of like breakneck blocks or any of that jazz. It's not quite done cooking, but it's pretty close. There's not a lot left to do with it. The internals have been so thoroughly tested that I don't need to do anything with that, so that's nice. And then...
So the next slide, we're not allowed to show CAD of, so we can talk a little bit about it, but we can't, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So... some of you may know about Jared and Hartkay and the Bontech Galileo 2 extruder that's coming out soon. There's been a whole bunch of buzz in the VD contributor side of things, sort of building different variants on top of Galileo 2, and I am no exception. So I want to make I have already mostly made a sort of a Galileo 2 native extruder that sits on top of Archetype called Escapement, because they all seem to be named after clockwork names like wristwatch or something along those lines. It is fake news. If you really want to rub salt in the wound, Mastermind, the maker of Pandora's Box, is really rabidly waiting for Escapement, and it hurts him every day I don't work on it. So if you'd like to cause him some pain, remind him that I haven't finished this yet, and that would just, yeah, wonderful. I'd appreciate that very much. But Escapement, yeah, it'll just be another native extruder that you can pop on top of Archetype and sort of run a bigger variety of extruders. There is also a flat top.
It's gonna sit super low.
There's a flat top VZ hex block already. So VZ mounts up from the bottom with two relatively short width screws. So it's really easy to fit that mounting pattern within what already sits on top. Sherpa and Sherpa Micro will not sit happily on top of Archetype. Someone will make a block and it will work. There's not like any major reasons it can't be done. But Sherpa Mini, for example, the motor sits really, really high, and I personally don't think it's a particularly good fit. I think Sherpa Micro, but I'm sure someone will make a Sherpa Mini mounting block for something that will let you use your CNC Sherpas. But for now, CNC Sherpa Mini, CNC VZ Hex, those are both supported if you're in the CNC extruder biz.
Yeah, we can make a sender fit, but it's going to be sideways, and your motor's going to be hanging off the side.
Something that will become apparent soon when we kind of get into the looking at cameras. This tool head is absolutely tiny. It's really small. CAD does not do it justice. So fitting normal extruders on top is not as trivial as it looks. Like putting a DFA on, the DFA is longer than the whole hot end's footprint. It's just bigger than the whole footprint of the hot end. It's about the same amount of mass on top with the DFA as it is underneath. So it's pretty wild.
All right.
Which is why I make Kyro.
So next slide.
Yeah.
Is just us talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out of full screen.
Do you want me to show off the configurator?
So,
yes, please.
If you give
you
me,
want to talk about it?
Yeah, if you want to give me sharing permissions, I can share my screen.
I think you need to stop sharing. You need to just stop.
There we go. Okay.
Do you want to explain what the configurator is, Brandon?
Yep. So we have a lot of configurations for Archetype, and it is going to be really complicated if you have to try to figure out what everything is compatible with yourself and like look at a mapping and pick files. So we're building a configurator. Ricky Mao and I, and I think probably a couple other people have been working on this. And basically, you will be able to select everything you're using. It will automatically pick what's compatible. So you can't select something valid. And then there's going to be a button down here once you pick everything to basically grab all the STLs from the repo, package it up, zip it, and serve it to you as a download. So that's pretty much the configurator. It's going to be very nice. It's probably going to look prettier than this. And there are maybe some pretty live renders that we're going to be working on as well. So you can see what you're building as you build it.
I kind of want to caveat the stream as well. I mean, I called it beta. Alpha is probably a better term. If you're familiar with game development stuff, beta normally indicates that something is feature complete but needs testing. Archetype is not feature complete. It's alpha. There are still things to be done. We didn't want to hold off on releasing anything and getting it into people's hands any longer. But there are ideas like the configurator that are kind of boiling in the background that are really going to improve the quality of life of people who are trying to just use the toolhead in general. It's going to give you it's going to give you all of the STLs oriented the right way. It's going to give you a BOM specifically for your setup, right? So we can attach the BOM information to the files and make sure that you have a list of stuff you need to buy with the right fans and that kind of stuff. And what you're seeing on screen isn't just like a mock-up. Brandon and Ricky Mao have been doing, all of the code here is correct and it's all hooked up in the right way. It's just kind of missing the back-end links. But this is real work that has been done and is kind of on the path. And to sort of caveat from this, the configurator will be part of a bigger website. So the Armchair Engineering website will grow a little bit, and we will host a lot more of the information and description and just general stuff that you would want to know about the toolhead on the website, pulling a lot of that info from GitHub and using GitHub to make sure that all the files that you get are maintained properly. But we want to have detailed build instructions using, rich assets on the web page with animated GIFs and stuff that sort of show you how to do things. Kyle as a H has been incredibly helpful in helping me do some of the renders that you've seen in the presentation, and has been working on a really interesting little project that might let us have a really lovely rendered, spinnable, interactable configurator icon, so that you can basically see the tool head changing as you select these options in a interactable, turnable 3D model. It's really cool. And yeah, we'll be able to just host a little bit more information and make it a bit cleaner, a little bit nicer to use. You know, we don't want this to just be another GitHub project that you have to kind of filter through and kind of hope is maintained properly. We want to put a little bit more spice into this, make it a little bit more. We want a little bit more.
Yep. Cool.
Yep.
Especially after what Taz did with documentation for New Zoll and stuff. I feel like we kind of have to put a little bit extra work into that.
Yeah.
Not into his project, but into ours.
Yeah. And to slide on from this as well, the documentation is not done. The intention was to do a live build here. I have stuff on the desk kind of ready to go, but my printer was being a bit of a bitch. So I didn't print off all the stuff I needed in time to actually like show you live hands-on like a few of the different options. I can show you some very basic stuff, but nothing too detailed. But we will probably end up doing either another just video that we upload or something just showing how to build the toolhead soon, like this week. And we want to get some documentation up on the repo so that people with no experience at Breakneck or Archetype can look at this, figure out what to do. At the moment, it's going to be the same as any other repo, right? You're going to have to figure out what you're using, download the whole repo, pick out the STLs that you need and kind of use it. And that's just the standard user experience. But we want to kind of make that a little easier, but we also don't want to sink too much time into making the GitHub stuff super polished, because we intend to kind of like move on to a more polished sort of thing later down the line as well. I will also be publishing CAD this week, but I need to sanitize the CAD. There's some cleanup stuff that needs to be done. I know a lot of people have been asking me to get the CAD out so that they can make some modifications themselves. I'm more than happy to do that. I have no issue with kind of releasing the CAD soon. It's mostly a case of making sure that I don't accidentally release something with something in there that I shouldn't have. Make sure that everything there is proper and can be easily edited and makes sense, and that the file structure makes sense. And then, you know, just some of the little bits and pieces.
I assume we went over quickly that the configurator, you would just select what you want, and then it will dump a zip with all your stuff in it.
Yeah, yeah.
We
may even be using 3MF files because they're sort of like a nice, interesting archive file themselves, which would give us the ability to kind of make plates and stuff. But we don't want to put too much plate onto something or too much like emphasis onto something that doesn't matter. But we might be able to utilize that.
Yep. Cool. I'll give you screen control back.
Yes, I gotta show. 1 second. Okay. So this is the very beginnings of the documentation website that Maz has been working on. Primarily Maz has been working on.
He's so good.
There's basically nothing here yet except a navigation screen. But essentially what it's going to be is you come here and you pick whatever you have, and then it'll tell you how to assemble it and then any information that you need to know about it. And then, yeah, this is the configurator.
Are there any really talented graphic designers out there? Just let me know. I can use Photoshop very poorly. So
I think I know one.
Who?
Avalon.
Oh, Poggy.
I thought you were going to say someone else.
No, Avalon.
I thought he was going to say me, and I got all upset. Thanks, Derp, for the pep talk. Cool. Does that cover it, Derp? Does that just about cover it?
I think so. I think that's everything we need to show other than CAD. And then we can do the supporter and the normie giveaway.
Yes. Sourcing guide I will work on. I need to have a break today. I've worked really fucking hard for like 2 weeks solid, so I'm very tired. And I appreciate that not having a sourcing guide out there is a pain in the ass. Derp has the CAD and can maybe help with some basic answers, and I can tell most people, like, there should be nothing that you need to buy that's really awkward, except for some countersunk screws. But I will aim to try and get some sourcing stuff up as soon as possible so people can buy stuff.
Yeah, I would quickly also like to go over one of our new website names, isn't.armchair.gay. Please visit us at that link.
That was Brandon's fault.
did pay Liam to buy the domain. Yes.
I'll give you $40 right now if you do that. I believe it said. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I added all the subscribers to a wheel, but I need to verify we haven't got any new ones. Are we gonna close this now? Let me just verify.
I
You
think
haven't signed up for the giveaway. It's over.
Yeah. But after the giveaway's done, we can kind of like take some questions from people if you want to like ask some stuff. We can kind of figure that out in a little more.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna close the giveaway, the supporter giveaway now. Do we want to do that now, or you want to do CAD first?
Oh, right. We want to go over the CAD real quick. So, yeah, last call. If you want to do subscriber things, go wild. No pressure. And just to be clear as well, the subscriber thing is wonderful. If you do, that's great. We get the support, but we want everyone, regardless of anything, to sort of enjoy everything we do. It doesn't hold you back. There's no like hidden channels that kind of have anything special in there. Just this chat room for people with subs and stuff. You know,
Yep.
it's there should be no FOMO. There should be no feeling that I need to do this or I will miss out on something cool. It's just like Patreon or something. Well, I guess that's kind of there, but for FOMO reasons, you get the idea. Okay, I guess I need to do share screen again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my fusion kept crashing.
Yeah, we'll just go over in the CAD a little bit what's going on here. So let's strip away these. So this is kind of the core. There's some built-in supports and some little bits and pieces here and there that you'll see in the CAD that you won't see on the renders, obviously. So, but just to kind of explain very briefly what's going on.
Stream your screen and not fusion because it is freaking out. Change the stream. Yeah. Perry's here.
Oh yeah. The best boy. Is this working now?
Yeah.
Okay. Probes. These are cool. I won't go into probes. I guess we kind of just want to talk about the rail carriage and the important stuff, right? I mean, what do you want to go over in the CAD?
Skeleton, plastic parts.
Yeah, okay. So this is kind of the heart of what makes Archetype kind of neat and interesting, I think. We kind of spoke about this before, just this 4 screw arrangement with different angles on all of them, as we mentioned. It just kind of means that you're always in a favorable sort of like tension profile on all of the screws at any given time. And these go through all of the pieces. So the extruder blocks have 2 separate lugs. The heat sets go into the extruder block on the top and the rail carriage on the bottom. So the extruder is kind of bound by these 2 screws, and they form these, these sort of like rails that everything else sort of locks onto, and the hot end mount locks in here and here. And then depending on which fan option you use, there's room at the front. So it lets you do some pretty neat stuff. Breakneck just kind of fits as you have seen in the past. You just screw into here and here, and you need to take all 4 screws out to take the breakneck stuff off. Here's Atrocity. So here's the 3515 configuration. So it's kind of crazy. Let me put a compatible length hot end onto here. So this would be for Goliath length, right?
Do you have weights? Do you have toolhead weights?
Do I have what?
Toolhead weight stats?
Yes, roughly, yeah. So Breakneck with the Dragon UHF and Kyro on top was 260 grams, I think. I think with the heavier side of things, like the heaviest tool head with the heaviest hot end and that kind of stuff, we're sort of broaching 300.
Which is still crazy light.
Yeah, I think for a typical sort of like medium length setup is going to be in the region of like 230 to 260 grams, depending on extruder choice and that kind of jazz. Yeah, I have my whole X beam, X rail, and tool head and XY joints down to less than 680 grams, I think, on my 350 mil 2.4. Which is pretty crazy. That's with the spin saw beam, so it's not super floppy like an ultralight. I haven't done too much testing on it yet. It might be crap. I might go back to 2020 extrusions, but we'll see. Yeah, it's very, very light. Yeah, so one of the things that we did with Archetype that's different to Breakneck is adding some extra support material or some like support structures in for fan configurations. So for those of you who were in the Breakneck channel and I said, hey, when I announce this, I'll tell you about the time I had a major mental breakdown. I'm just going to remind everyone in the audience, as avid 3D printers, did you know that in order for your Z to move, you have to use belts or screws, and that they are in your printer? Yeah, and you have to think about them. those belts and stuff are in the way, and when you do stupid stuff like slinging fans underneath the tool head, you're going to run into issues with clearances. So the original design for both Mjolnir and Atrocity were swept forwards, and it made them look really cool. I think they really kind of looked smart. I actually have grown on how they look now, and they are more rigid as well. But you can see any further swept forward than this, and they would both be inside and completely obliterating belts and lead screws and stuff. You just wouldn't be able to go near the front of your printer. So that would have been bad. So I had to rebase everything and sort of go from scratch. But you can see here, there's a little bit of collision with Ramas on Atrocity, but you don't go that far to the left to get to the edge of your sheet. So I've noticed this hasn't been a problem. On Atrocity in particular, you're probably going to bump a front lead screw. Don't know how that's going to be. Whoever puts Atrocity into their machine first with lead screws, let me know. And then Mjolnir has the same kind of clearances. So Mjolnir slips underneath everything pretty cleanly. Like I said before, if you have CNCXY joints, you don't even need to do a gantry flip on this one. Don't judge my lead screws, Luke. They're really big. My wife told me. So Mjolnir has kind of a funny party trick as well. Rather than making the ducts longer, we just changed the angle of the fans. So if you kind of see, both long and medium have the same upper profile. They clear the gantry the same way. And we just changed like how much angle we put into the fan blades themselves. There's a bunch of support material in the way. Let me see if I can just hide this. Oh. Oh. Help, I'm a boomer. V? Thanks, Maz. Oh, look at this, power CAD. So you can kind of see what we're doing with these 5015s. The answer is barely anything. It turns out if you just kind of do a little bit of pressure sculpting. Oh, and I need to shout out Lordinio. What a man. Lordinio and Corvid both helped me out. I know a little bit about fluid dynamics and how air works, but I've never delved into CFD before. Both Corvid and Lordinio doing CFD for me, this project would not have happened without them, and it wouldn't work anywhere near as well as it would without them. So I kind of want to just put it out there that I'll kind of wax lyrical about everyone who helped me at the end, but in specifically the CFD stuff, we did some crazy rapid prototyping with just being able to see some CFD results, make some tweaks, doing parametric flow analysis that Lordinio has been doing recently on some stuff. We're learning so much about how these fans work and what is good for cooling, doing practical tests, realizing that shit, we have to start again. It's really fun, and it's been a wicked experience doing all of the CFD. So all of these fans that you see now have been like rigorously tested through simulations and then put into practice, and not rigorously tested because it was me, but other people will do that for me, right? That's why we're here. So, yeah, you can kind of see what we're doing with the 5015s. It's a very simple hood that just helps keep a very high pressure level at the top so that the airflow wants to scoop down, which it does. And it ends up, despite looking like it's pointing at the side of the hot end, well, this one does because it's medium. Hang on 1 second. Technical problem. There we go. It looks like it would be pointing quite a lot at the hot end, but in reality, the airflow scoops downwards and misses it mostly. But yeah, the CFD on this has been really fun to work with, but you can see we kind of hit the goals with the clearances that we want. I'm going to head off the first question. Does it matter that this fan is pointing towards the bed and intaking from the bed? No. I thought it would. It doesn't. There's some relatively long, boring answers as to why, but it turns out that you're just not pulling that much air from any given spot for the air to be that much hotter. It's slightly hotter that closer to the bed, but really doesn't result in much. But yeah, you do have this really weird configuration with one intaking from below and one above. But like I said, this is Bythor Thunder's idea, and it works phenomenally well. They're really rigid. It's a kind of a good structure for it. It works out very well. I think people will be impressed with this one. Mjolnir is, like I said before, kind of my low-key favorite. I think this slaps. It's pretty good. Let's show some of the more working projecty ones. So Atrocity, you can see. I just want to show off these ducts. Can I just for a moment get a round of applause for my ducts? Look how cool that looks. Yeah, they are, and they print so well. Yeah, I got a whale tail in there, man. That's pretty cool. Zephyr. Zephyr's just Zephyr. It looks like the nightmare thing from Metroid, if anyone knows that, which is cool.
Yes.
Who wants terrible things? Mantis. This is how Mantis will mount, and this is how done Mantis is. We were doing some basic CFD on this. It looks like I just kind of put fans in place and left them. That's exactly what I did, but for a reason. We were kind of trying to see how much occlusion this fan would experience from being this close to the side. The 50-20s have a bit more flow than a 50-15, but considering that they intake from both sides, it's not double or anything. It's how much Corbett? Like 20-30% more flow, a little bit more pressure?
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's sort of in that ballpark. They're not that much better than 50-15s, but the extra pressure helps them a touch. And being able to intake from both sides is nice. But if you obscure one side, you lose half the airflow. So we are obviously obscuring some of these fans, and we needed to do a little bit of sort of testing to see if that would really choke them off. Because there's a potential that these, with the slightly longer ducts they'll have, will just be worse than Mjolnir. But they provide some other advantages to supporting small and not having as many clearance issues. Don't think about that. That's fine. That's no problem.
I've seen quite a few people saying "Thing of Her Special" or like "Hero Me," and that's super funny for multiple reasons, but I won't go into that. But I think it's important to remember that the whole point of this toolhead wasn't to make like the best toolhead. It was to make a good platform for other people to make things on. So we're excited to see what other people make. Like, find the stupidest fans that you can find on DigiKey and put them on here, please.
I'll be completely honest for a moment. All of this was a complete waste of time. Anyone not running CPAP is just objectively wrong. It's better than everything. But, I can't convince everyone. And Maz won't run it because it's too loud or some stuff. So, a lot of this was just, 50-15s because people have them from Mantis and from other stuff. The 35-15s are just big boy flow. These ideas were all basically, each archetype is more of an idea than it is, hey, we think this is like the best way to do it. And that brings us on to Zol. Don't comment on the CAD. It's not done. Okay. It's fine. It'll be fine. It looks like this. You don't put a Goliath on it, please. I'm not entirely sure whether to support long with... yeah. Not entirely sure whether it makes sense for us to support Water Heater and Goliath with Zol fans because they don't really have enough airflow to cool plastic at the flow rates that those hot ends would typically be getting used at. So we would expect, and we sort of tailored that a bit. Atrocity only works on long, but you also don't really need Atrocity on a Rapido high flow, right? Like it's overkill. So we wanted the fans to sort of make sense. One thing I love about Zol, this thing's like a tiny little brick, dude. Just bang.
Like Zol.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be a nifty little thing. It'll have a great center of gravity. It should be really fun to rip around at really high speed with a nice little hot end in it. Like a, Volkmosk or something crazy. I could obviously sit here all day talking about my CAD, but I'm not going to. I'll save you all the cringe of me showing you the 4 different iterations of clicky probe that I did and how the compound curvature was just, it just really worked out. It really worked out, and I was pleased with it.
Show off the little fan thingy.
Oh! I did a cool thing. Are you ready for this? Probes. Space amount, right. So, one thing I noticed when I started testing the fans is, dude, fan wiring sucks. Why is everyone not using CPAP, dude? Like, you don't have to deal with fan wiring. So I had to solve that problem for everyone as well. So we've got this little doodad thing here. This probe spacer, this is one of the things I was sort of sidetracking on before I said we'd put more stuff to mount fan configurations onto the toolhead. One of the things we did was adding in this lug that lets the fans have a third point of contact. I noticed when I mounted the Atrocity fans on, because of like where the the sort of pivot points are. There's one here and one slightly here. It's kind of easy for the fins to sort of bounce back and forth. Oh, hang on, I've got one to demonstrate. It was kind of easy for these fins to bend in this direction, right, to sort of cantilever over here. So just adding a third point of contact, and all it does is slide in from the front into this little thing, and then that sort of locks it in, and you don't have to have these screws in. This is obviously, I'm kind of holding it together and trying to stop it from falling apart, but this is, usually you can put Archetype together without any screws, but I have screws kind of popping out and stuff. So what you do with this little probe spacer, now that you've got this extra geometry that you can hook into with your fans, it adds a little bit of rigidity, but I saw an opportunity to do something clever with it. So if you have two 2-pin JST XRs, or PHs are they? Yeah, PH, which are the small ones that you should normally be terminating your fan headers in anyway. Here's one that I didn't prepare earlier. So you're going to get two, I guess these are female headers, right, with the pins inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just press fit these in to here and here. Is that on camera? Is that clear? Yeah. So you can kind of press fit your JST X8 in here, and then you get a full-size JST 3-pin. The female end, where are we? We're doing it live.
I like how
One of these guys.
blown out your light is making.
Hang on, not mine. Right, so there we go. So one of these 3 pins, and you would. This is for the purpose of kind of wiring it into a buck converter, or for whatever other purposes. So you would wire these two together, ground and live, back in here, and then you would just crimp onto the connectors in here. I'll do a video that sort of shows it in a bit more detail. But you push this JST down in here, and then you get your little buck converter. I think I have one on a table somewhere.
The tiny
Yes,
one.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of these little tiny 12-volt buck converters. You can get these for 5 or 12-volt fans, right? So depending on what kind of fan you're running, you might want to switch the buck converter around. But this lets you just push the buck converter into the back. You can kind of bend the legs to kind of sit however you like it to. But you can push this buck converter in the back. The buck converter just sits on the back of the tool head, chilling out safe. And you can just plug and unplug the fans into this. So you can see on my stream, it's just a small little piggy tail that you come off the fan, plug it into here, and then you can take each individual side off. I know one of the big complaints with tool head boards and stuff is I don't have 2 fan headers, and then I have to crimp my fans together, and then it's awkward to get them off the tool head because they're kind of, locked together at one place. This just means you have small little wires coming off the back of your wings, and you can just, this is sort of just behind your tool head. You can kind of just push your fans into your header and then mount them, and you're good to go. And then when you want to swap them, like for me, this is what we were saying, it's like a developer quality of life thing. I'm swapping between 4 different fan configurations constantly. Not having to do this has saved me like tens of minutes. It's brilliant. Yeah, so the little fan header thing is pretty cool. I like that. And it's just a little quality of life thing. Yeah. The other thing you do with the probe spacer that's kind of neat, it's 8.5 mil long. So in order to use that probe spacer, if you were using Atrocity, which is long, you'd normally use the long probe mounts, right? But with the probe spacer, you get the probe spacer and you pick medium, and you just put the medium-sized probe mounts on, and that's it. When we do the configurator,
the configurator was all that for you.
Yeah, the configurator does that for you. If you select Atrocity on Mjolnir, it will automatically pick you the correct probe and spacer to get you to the right overall length. But for the time being, if you are running Mjolnir or Atrocity, it's worth knowing you need to pick one size smaller on the probe length than usual. But all of the probes work with all of the fans. If you want to swap to a different type of probe, you can do that without removing anything from the tool head. You can do that without taking the belts off. You can do anything on this other than changing the rail carriage without taking the belts off. You can change everything, can swap things independently without really having any compatibility issues. It's quite nice. I've got to say, I think that's about all I have to show. Yeah. There's tons of more little bits and pieces, but yeah. I think I've spoken enough.
Currently making the... Somebody has a long-ass name. Okay. I'm making the spreadsheet, wheel of names thing. Okay.
Are you doing that? Do you need a minute?
No, I'm good now.
Okay.
Turn off your stream real quick.
Yes, sir.
All right, so this officially closes entering the giveaways. I mean, we already closed the supporter one, but it doesn't really matter. There's really
Click to spin.
There was one person that came in after. It was Camel Case, and I just added him anyway. Okay, so
Next
this
time we do a giveaway, we could do it with the marble race.
we could. That would be fun. All right, so this one is supporters.
We have
I
a
bet
weekly
you
movie
Tiny-
night that we decide what we watch.
Tiny
with the
Shell
marble
Script's
race.
gonna win, so don't worry about it.
Oh, is that actually Mastermind winning?
Hey,
He did say to re-roll him if he wanted, so that
did he
was just
actually-
a test. That was a test. It doesn't count, Mastermind. No one likes him. He's not here. It's just not allowed.
Okay. He
Is that
confirmed he
correct,
wanted
Master?
reroll.
Okay.
Okay.
But to be fair, I mean that's pretty fucking lucky, right? Of course he did.
Engagement.
No.
Brandon.
Did we not disable the rigging measures? God damn it!
Reroll? You want me to reroll, or do you want it?
I mean, I
Okay.
want it, but it's not rigged. I promise.
Oh wait, I'm actually not going to let you win this
All right.
because this is a supporter giveaway.
I'm
If it was the
supportive.
normie giveaway, I'd say yes.
All right, fine.
I'm a supporter. You see, my name's on there. If I win it next, I'm not giving it up. You can all get bent. It's not.
Oh my fucking god!
Dustin. God.
I'm just keep going. I'm just gonna keep going.
The name's not yellow. Keep it going. Hey!
Oh, Avalon!
A legitimate winner. Avalon, I'm so sorry. You were this close. We'll give you the consolation prize of a kiss. Blood Death. You did it. It's all you, bud.
Next is normies. I'm gonna be a
Normals.
nice guy. I'm gonna be a nice guy and add Zchem because they missed the entry.
Yeah. Look at this guy. Look at this dude.
Okay,
How many ineligible people are going to spin this time?
we'll find out.
Oh, it's a mook. No, it's not. It's a filthy casual. Wonderful. Congratulations, filthy casual.
What did they win?
This
They
is the
won,
normie point?
Yeah.
This is a
Sorry.
Trident.
list right here. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Right here. Copy
Yeah.
pasta.
A double T 6mm Trident thing kit from Double T. And Double T generously donated that, by the way, so thank you very much to him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd also like to. Yeah, we should probably just go over that. So
And we need to end this whole thing with, God, you're going to hate me after this. I can't really say thank you to everyone who's helped me with this project. I just joined the Armchair Discord making some stupid crap because I wanted to put fast blowers on my machine. And the feedback and support I've had has just been life-changing. It's been incredible. This has been such an incredibly fun journey. To get to this point where I'm sitting in a room full of 100 plus people talking crap about a toolhead that I've made is amazing. It really is like dream material stuff. Derp has been wonderful. Corvid's been wonderful. All of the Armchair engineers, Brandon, Dustin, Wop, Frank, like every single one of them has been wonderful. We've had help from all of the contributors all over on Voron, Heart Kyle, Mastermind. I'm going to miss people and offend them, and I do genuinely apologize if I do, but it really does go to say Archetype is absolutely wicked. It is an amazing toolhead, and I'm very demanding with what I wanted it to be, and I was not capable of doing it on my own, but it exists now the way I wanted it to because of this community and this group, and it slaps. You guys are going to love using it, and I really hope that you enjoy sort of playing around with it, telling me how shite it is and what's broken.
real quick. So the normie giveaway stuff was donated by Double T, and the supporter stuff was mostly a Tiny Shell script. And then the 4 motors, the S35s, were donated from DFH. And Hex wants me to do a spin. All people, supporters or not, remove dupes. I'm just going to do the people who entered. And then if it's a dupe, I'm just going to remove them. So this is for 1 Pex pepper sauce. I'm not sure if it's of their choice or of his choice, but we'll see.
Oh, Xamarin. Wonderful sauce. I hope you're a purveyor of the spice.
He might be international.
Did you want to keep this US only, Pepper King, or?
Let him figure it out.
Hey, Derp,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, Derp, I
imagine
think
if,
Shammy sent you a DM,
Huh?
but we'd have to go back to the other group.
What? What did you say, Corbin?
I think Shammy sent you a DM about something that he wanted to give away, but we'd have to go back to the other group.
Yes. Yes. I totally forgot about that. My bad. We are also going to give away a $100 gift card to supporters for XR Bunker, which is Shammy's PCB company. So let's spin for that right now.
Thank you, Shammy. Wonderful.
Yeah, shout out to Shammy for adding this
Yeah.
to the giveaway.
What about it? On.
All right, nice.
Old crazy guy.
That was supposed to be I, not Guy. I'm not sure what happened there, but I know who it was.
Oh, it's dying. Oh, okay.
You mean Guy know who it was?
I just was like frantically typing all the names.
Back.
All right.